So we're going to do a relay bench test and voltage test. We've got the relay plugged into our tester. This is the coil side of the relay. This is the power side. System voltage gets sent through, and if it's a good coil, you'll read system voltage in the power side and system voltage in the ground side. And you can see here that we have 13.5 volts. So that's with the alternator running, that's system voltage. So now on the switch side, if it was off, you would see 12 volts here at power side or system voltage. However, this relay is obviously on and running, so you should see no more than 100 millivolts across that little circuit for voltage drop. So we are going to be listening for the fuel pump. I have my assistant Jeremy up there in the front seat. He's going to turn on the car so I can have a little listen. So to do this, you're going to want to go ahead and take your gas cap off, or just try to really listen from like the back of your car. So you're just going to put your ear up to here, and you just want to listen for the fuel pump to engage. So here we have a Chevy HHR wiring diagram, and I'm going to explain how the fuel pump is powered and grounded. So you're going to start over here. You have a fuse 13, which is a 15 amp fuse, which feeds into a relay number 19. So this is the power side that goes down to the fuel pump motor. The fuel pump motor is grounded right here at the top at the stop and turn signal lights. So this is a switch power system. Power is going to be switched by this relay and sent down the ground, and then the motor is constantly grounded. So we are using a test light to check to make sure that the fuel pump is actually receiving power. So basically what you're going to see here is this test light should stay on for about 3 seconds. When the key is turned to the on position, it would stay on if the car was running. So here we've got the pink wire back probed, which is our power wire. Go ahead and turn the car on. Yep, and you see that it stayed on for about 3 seconds, which that primes the pump and sends fuel through the fuel rails up to the fuel injectors. All right, so we're set up to do a sweep test, a gauge sweep test for this exact fuel pump. So this fuel pump, we've hooked up to the sending unit signal wire and ground wire, which is connected to our ohm meter. So with this fuel pump, as fuel rises in the vehicle and you're filling your tank up, the resistance should drop. So what you want to do is you want to monitor your scan tool and just slowly rise the sending unit. And you can see that as it's raising up, the resistance is dropping. And eventually you'll get to a full point. And this is just to verify that the fuel sending unit is sending the appropriate signals to the ECM. So the purpose of that was you want to check each injector and you want to make sure that all of them end up at the same PSI. We are getting ready to do a power balance test, so you're going to need a couple tools. You need a fuel injector tester, which is back probed into a fuel injector. The injector is disconnected from the circuit, so it's only going to be able to get power through this device. And then you also need a fuel pressure tester for the fuel system. So first thing we need to do is build up some initial fuel system pressure. To do that, we're going to run the car for a little bit. I think we have a slight vacuum leak, just a slight vacuum leak. There we go. So you run the car for about 5 or 6 seconds, you build up some initial fuel pressure. Now, before the gauge read 10 PSI, and now we're holding steady at 45. So with the tester hooked up, now you take your ground, you're gonna go ahead and hook it up to the negative of the battery. You'll get the green light to go. And what this device is gonna do is it's gonna pulse the injector 50 times, and you're gonna watch this fuel pressure drop. Yeah, you're not recording, Jose.
Sorry, buddy.
And you can see that after it's pulsed 50 times, we're now down to 15 psi. So here we're doing a Noid light test. The injector is disconnected from the connector, and we put our Noid light in place. You can see that it's flashing. Every time it flashes, that means it's receiving a signal from the ECM to fire, and that flash confirms that. So now we're going to do a Noid light test for the first cylinder on this car. The Noid light is hooked up to the connector. The connector is obviously unplugged from the injector. The vehicle is not disabled, so it will start up because you kind of have to have it, you know, start and receive the signal. So, and you can see the flash of the Noid light. So we're doing a resistance check for a fuel injector. You want to disconnect the fuel injector from the harness. We've used test leads and hooked up our alligator clips for the DVOM. And here you can see it's 13.7 ohms. It's a little high. The spec on 2006 Toyota Camry is about 11.6 to 12.6 ohms. All right, so we're at the 2006 Toyota Camry. We're doing a voltage check of the fuel injector. So we've gone ahead and we've back probed the injector harness at the injector where it connects. Here you can see that we back probed that injector, and you can see the voltage that's going across the circuit. So the injector circuit's working fine. So the next test we're going to do is key on engine running. The reason you're going to do a key on engine running test is you're going to listen for the ticking of the injectors, but you're also going to want to hear the fuel spray from the injector. So I'm going to get back here and make sure that, you know, your stethoscope doesn't get tangled in anything in the engine while it's running. There's a belt right there. You know, just got to be careful. Go ahead and start her up. So just like before, you're looking for your stethoscope to just be touching the back. You're good. And you're just trying to listen for that sound of fuel. So what you're going to want to do is locate your injectors, which they're the little yellow guys right here. You're going to want to place your stethoscope, the end of it. It's a little bit difficult to do with one hand since I'm holding the camera, but you want to just get just the tip of your stethoscope just touching the injector. Go ahead and crank it. And then you're listening. You're good. So you're listening for like a ticking, clicking sound coming from the injector itself. It's a very distinct sound. You'll definitely hear it if you've got a good injector. So I've disabled the ignition system by removing that fuse. Now to do this, you're going to need an assistant inside the car who's going to crank the car when you tell them to. So once my assistant, is my assistant in there? Yeah, he is. So what you're going to want to do is, so the first test you're going to want to do with the sound test is key on engine cranking. So to do this, you're going to have to disable the car from actually starting. So we are about to do an injector sound test. Here are two tools you're going to need. You're going to need a stethoscope, and you're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers. This is the wiring diagram for a 2006 Toyota Camry. This is the fuel injector circuit. So we're going to start up here. There's a 15 amp fuse, which is the injector fuse. It's hot on start. This is the power wire for the system, which is pink. So you follow this down to each injector. These are the loads of the system. That's why they're highlighted yellow. And then you can follow the blue wire back, and this is all the grounds. The ECM controls the injectors. They're switch grounds, so whenever the ECM wants the injectors to fire, it grounds them out in the system.